Hello and welcome to another War Thunder video, and this is going to be a little preview to a series I'm going to be doing, looking over the various different guns within War Thunder from tiers 1 through 4. So we're not going to be looking at tanks, we're not going to be looking at ships, we're not going to be looking at turrets and defensive weaponry like that. This is going to be forward-firing, basically pilot-controlled guns. This is basically going to be an overhaul of a series I did a long time ago looking at the different belts in War Thunder, which I've never really been that satisfied with. And additionally, Gaijin has changed basically every gun in the game quite substantially since I made those videos, so why not go ahead and go back and revisit it. So yeah, we're going to be looking at not just the belts for the various guns, we're also going to be looking at the specs of the different rounds present within the belts. We're also going to be looking at the rate of fire of the different guns, as well as what planes you'll find these guns on. And where applicable, I'll look at the ammo loads for the different guns as well. Some of the guns I'll just kind of touch on some of the more notable planes that you'll find. For example, the gun pods or the German 30 mils, their ammo loads are just all over the place. And if I was going to list off the different ammo loads for the different planes, it'd take me half a decade. And then after looking at all of that, we're going to go and do a little demonstration flight so I can show you what the various different belts that I've recommended look like in practice. I will say, though, that these demonstration sections are going to be in arcade, just because that makes things easier, and it's also not going to be in live games because, again, it just makes things easier. If I was going to try and get live footage for all of this, it would take me way too long. Just getting the footage on its own would take a decade, probably, or well, it would take an age, and then editing it all down would take even longer. So no, I'm not going to do that. Instead, we're going to be using something called the mission editor, which I will show in a minute, in case you want to do these tests on your own. And with that in mind, I will go ahead and show a couple of different things, including the mission editor, that I'm going to be using. So the first off is, where is it? Weaponry. Here we go. Primary weapons. Switch primary weapons, or basically weapon selection mode. So what this is it's a way to select each of the different gun groups that you have, or secondary weapon groups as well, on your aircraft, so that you can basically fire them with mouse 1 instead of using these like 1, 2, 3, the way that traditionally back in the olden days you would do it. So the 3 keybinds that you're going to want, or well, 2 specifically, you're going to want exit, selected weapon mode, and that's going to exit this, so it'll go back to what you're used to. Switch primary weapons is going to first off enable it, and then enable weapon selection, and then when you keep pressing it, it'll cycle between the different guns that you have available on your aircraft. And then you have, in case you want it, there's switch secondary weapons here. This is for switching between like rockets, bombs, different missiles in the game, such and such. On pistons, it's not really that useful because you don't really need to switch between rockets and bombs most of the time. That's more something that's going to be useful on something like an F-15, where you have aim 7s, aim 9Ls, and all the like. So yeah, that's weapon selection. Then we have the mission editor, and for that I'm going to grab. Let's see. Let me grab the. I'll grab the K4. Okay, and I will put the 30 mil on stealth, and then the gun pods. All right, so should have had this set up already, but hey, whatever. Now the weapon selection or the mission editor, you can only use this with a plane that is in your lineup. So if you do not own the plane, you cannot do this. So what you're going to do is you're going to select the plane that you want, and you're going to go to test flight, and then you have this whole thing pop up, and I'm going to strongly recommend you set the vehicle modification status to current. It is usually on reference by default. Set it to current. And then you can mess with the fuel and blah, blah, blah. If you set this to reference, you're basically going to have a half-spaded plane, and I think it takes your crew level, but if it doesn't, I wouldn't be surprised either. If you set it to current, though, in this case, I have a spaded K4, and this is the loadout that I have, and it'll save all of that. It'll save the crew level and whatnot. It's just that way you don't have to worry about what belts are actually in the plane, because most of the time, if you have it on reference mode, it's just default. So you set it to current, so you can select all of this. You have your crew level and all of that nonsense. And then, yeah, you have this little button here, mission editor. You click on that, and then you get this screen. Now, anyone who's played a dynamic campaign, this should look very familiar. And this is basically setting up a dynamic campaign mission. So you can select the combat theater, where you want to go, the sector, the front line, where that is, the scenario, which is basically what kind of mission you're going to be flying, the skill of the various AI, enemy and friendly, the game mode, time of day, weather, whether you take off or not, fuel and ammo, whether those are limited. If you want to go and mess with all of that, feel free to. But like I said, if any one of you have played a dynamic campaign, this should all look very familiar. For the purposes of this, basically just the front line and sector, it is basically just how much enemy AA there is going to be on the map. If it's all blue, then there's no AA, and if it's all red, then you have a shit ton of enemy AA to deal with. And I will go ahead and say now that all of the AA emplacements that are in these are base AA. So you want to minimize that as much as possible if you're trying to actually do these, because otherwise you'll probably get killed by AA half the time. And trust me, it happens more often than is really just acceptable at all. So yeah, I just try and find the one sector that's got like the least amount of AA. If you need to flip this from hostile sector at front to friendly, or the other way around, or flip between most of these, then you can fiddle with it just to minimize the amount of AA there is. I'm also going to be doing head-to-head combat just because that gives me the most amount of targets to deal with. Gives me more time in case I screw up. And then, of course, you get to this screen, and from here you can set up what your allied fighters are going to be. This is not going to be what you are flying. This is going to be what the other AI are flying. So, and then you can also set the count and their loadout and even their camo. So you can set, instead of having the gun pods, I want the other AI to have no pods. I can do that. I'm going to have them carry the pods just in case. You can also have them carry ordnance for whatever reason in this scenario. And then you can do the same with the enemy fighters. Now, of course, keep in mind that the count on the allies can only go up to 40 on head-to-head combat, and that is because this is already accounting for your squad of 4, so this is 44. It's the same as this. And yeah, let's see. What do I want to set these to? We'll set them to... We'll set them to I-225s. Okay. And then after you're all ready to go, hit the start mission button and whatnot. You press enter on that screen, it skips it. You press space here, it skips that. All right, so in here, the weapon selection mode, I'm going to press the select weapon mode, which was a period for me. Now we have weapon selection mode on. If I press left mouse, all 3 of my gun groups are going to fire. So my main, the small, the large, and auxiliary. If I just press 1, 2, 3, like you see from the controls here, small, large, auxiliary, or additional, 1, 2, 3. Press 1, fires the machine guns. 2, fires the 30, because the gun pods are additional guns. And so if I press 3, fires the 20s. Now if I press this button again, now it's selecting the machine guns. So if I press left mouse, only fires machine guns. If I press 2 or 3, it doesn't fire anything. If I press 1, there we go. If I switch it again, now we're firing only the 30s. So if I press 1, nothing happens. If I press 3, nothing happens. If I press 2, or if I press left mouse, there we go. And of course the same thing goes for the additional guns. Now, in this, in these demonstrations, there's going to be, well, the critical thing that we're looking at in these demonstrations is not that I am getting kills on a bunch of AI. That's just what they're there for. They're there to be shut down. What these demonstrations are for is showing you how much ammunition it takes to bring down an enemy and what kind of kill that you are getting. So, for example, I'm going to use the machine guns. And as to what kind of kill, when I say that, what I mean is, okay, something like that. So I blew the wing off of that plane. Basically, what I mean by what kind of kill is what you did to get credited with the kill. So, did you shoot the wing off? Did you kill the engine? Did you kill the pilot? Did you set it on fire? And did it burn down? Did you shoot the tail off? That kind of thing. So right there, I got the kill. What did I do to get the kill, though? Well, the pilot just bailed out, so the pilot's still alive. That is an example of a fire kill on an AI. If you set an AI's fuel tank on fire, they will automatically bail out. It does not matter what damage status the plane has. If you set the fuel tank on fire for an AI, they will automatically bail out of the airplane. And I have done this with a B-26. I've seen this happen with a P-26 that fired on a B-29 in sim. He got a singular hit with 30 caliber machine guns, set the B-29's fuel tank on fire, the B-29 bailed out. So, yeah. With AI, named or unnamed, it doesn't matter. They will immediately bail out of the airplane if you set the fuel tank on fire. So, in that case, it's what I usually call a fire kill, at least for AI. And, of course, if you set the AI on fire and then it bails out, then it's kind of hard to figure out how much damage you've actually done. That time I killed the pilot. And I will say, though, if you set the engine of an AI on fire, they will not bail out. Don't know if I'm going to be able to do that here, but yeah. So that's what I'm looking at with these demonstration videos, or these demonstration clips. So right now, for example, I have 43 rounds. I fired 3 rounds and I blew the tail off, set it on fire, and there it goes, you bailed out. So that's what I'm looking for, is how much ammunition am I expending to get a kill, and then what kind of kill is it that I am getting? If I'm spending 600 rounds to set a fuel tank on fire or kill the pilot, that's not very stellar performance. At the same time, if I like that, I fire 1 shot and set the engine on fire, kill the pilot, because there's no parachute. Okay, that's pretty decent. Or if I fire a couple of rounds and just blow the plane completely apart, which that time it didn't happen, but it's an MK108. If I get enough hits, there we go. Eventually, they'll just detonate outright. So that's what these are for. And of course, I'm using weapon selection all throughout this series just to pick one of these over the other. So yeah. Additionally, I'm not going to go over cross-nation guns. So for example, I'm going to go over the Hispano Mark II when I come to the British, because well, there is a P-51 with Hispano Mark IIs in the American tree. Likewise, the Americans also have a 190, a 109, a Key 61, a 0. I'll cover the Type 99 Mod 1, the gun in the 0 when I get to the Japanese. I'll cover the 151 when I get to the Germans. I'll cover the Hispano 404 when I get to the French, that kind of thing. I'm also going to, well, I'm not going to be covering the Chinese or the Israelis because they don't have guns that are unique to them. They use guns from other nations, at least from tiers 1 through 4. And I'm also going to be, I'll cover the Italians when I get to the Germans, and I'll cover the French when I get to the British. And I'm going to do those first at the beginning of their respective videos. The reason why I'm going to be doing them together with, like, for example, the British with the French and the Italians with the Germans is just because those two nations don't really have, like, the French and Italians don't really have that many guns that are unique to them. Even though the French have 6 different 7.5 millimeter machine guns, but they're basically all the same, or damn near. So there's very, very few guns realistically within the two nations that are unique to them. So it just makes more sense to bundle them in with something else, and that way I don't have to worry about it. That way I don't have to just make a completely separate video for them in particular. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all I can think of to say off the top of my head. Apologize in advance if this takes too long, because I know this is going to take a while. And I also know that all of these videos are going to be extremely long and, like I said, extremely dense. So I do apologize for that in advance. But as I said at the start, I will leave timestamps. So yeah, I hope you find this informative. I hope you enjoy, and I'll see you in the first video, which will be the Americans.